Well, I want to thank Amy and the Ontario Caregivers Organization for having me this morning. It's a real pleasure and an honor for me to be here this morning because the work that you do allows people like me to stand in the space of difference and consequence. So I want to start this morning by giving you all your ceremonial and literal victory laps of consequence. So I want to start this morning by giving all of you a round of applause. So let's do that. Because it's my belief that the work that you do allows me and people like me to stand on the precipice of difference. So I wanted to start this morning by giving you a big giant thank you. And I believe the work that you do allows families to stand in their own space of impactful difference and influence. You give families a permission slip and the permission structure to be their own sense of identity and connection to themselves. Yes, we all want our caregiving journey to be a successful one in terms of giving the support to the caregiver, to the person that we're caring for. But we also want to make sure that you, as the caregiver support, are the ones that are also acknowledged, because without you standing in your space of sort of maximum ability, it's unfair for any of us to expect you to come to your full self as caregivers. So it's my belief that you help families stand in their space of prosperity and you really carve the path of difference. So I want to thank you for the good work that you do in that regard. And I also want you to know that I want you to give yourself permission in the work that you do each and every day to formulate your own sense of identity, because it allows you to innovate new ways to care, but also innovate new ways to move this organization forward. So now I want to talk to you about resilience and coming up with your own sense of a resilient spirit and identity. It's my belief that when we talk about resilience, it's the tool in our toolbox that we rely on when our motivational fortitude of a tank is depleted of the strength to endure. What does that mean? It means that I view resilience this way. You know, adversity will strike all of us. None of us are immune from adversity. But the thing about resilience is I view it as the answer to the test of adversity once adversity strikes. Because if you have a resilient spirit, it means that you have a purpose that you want to fight for during your brightest and darkest days. You know, a lot of people ask me, and they tell me I'm a resilient and inspirational person, and I tell them I'm just simply living my life. And if they're inspired by my example, then I tell them to inspire themselves to pay it forward and impacting other people in the ways in which we can all move forward as one. Because, you know, I'm a big believer in what I call creating bridges of unity. And what I mean by that is, there's so much more that brings us together than separates us. So as caregivers and as people, if we stand on the bridges of unity and respect, we go a long way in creating a culture of understanding, inclusion, and diversity. So resilience, I want you to remember, is the answer to the test of adversity once adversity strikes. And now I want to share my own story of resilience. It started when I was 9 years old. So I want everybody to do me a favor and close your eyes for just a second and remember where you were when you were 9 years old. You were probably playing out at a playground somewhere or on a summer vacation. You can open your eyes now, and I'm going to share a story. So when I was 9 years old, it was the summer of 1998. I was at Tynes Valley Children's Hospital following my 7th and final surgery for my disability. I was in a hospital conference room, and Dr. Tim Carey, who had performed all of the surgeries for my disability, and I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. And in simplest terms, it means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. And Dr. Carey came into the room and he said, "Kevin, you've completed your 7th and final surgery here at Tynes Valley Children's Hospital, and we believe it's a success. And as long as you're active and healthy, you'll be able to live a full life." Now, before I complete the story, I'll tell you that I was born 3 months premature, and when I was born, my parents were told that I wasn't supposed to live past 3.5 years old, and I'm now 35. So, again, my story of resilience started young, because at the end of the meeting, when Dr. Carey went through what he was hoping that I would gain through the surgery of lengthening my hamstrings, improving my endurance, and living a full and healthy and active life, he stopped my parents and I just before we left, and he said, "I have to tell you one thing. We believe the surgery was a success, but because of the severity of Kevin's disability, he'll never be able to walk for the duration of his life without assistance of a wheelchair or a walker." So when we were headed back, so I live in Windsor. Anyone that's been to Tynes Valley Children's Hospital or in London in general knows that it's a 2-hour drive from London to Windsor. So when I finished surgeries, my reward in life for finishing surgeries was the chicken and fried basket from Dairy Queen. So in order to bribe me to get through surgeries, my parents bribed me with food, and it's worked for the duration of my life. So anyway, on the way back, I had to process what that meant for the rest of my life, right? Not being able to walk. Anyone would tell you that it would probably mean that, that I would have to do things differently. And the next day, I had to go back to school. It was the beginning of my 4th grade year of elementary school. And I was called out of the principal's office not because I was in trouble, because my principal at the time was Dr. Carol Crowley. And Dr. Crowley called me into the office because she knew where I was the previous day. And she had everyone assigned to my file, from teachers to social workers. My parents were there, and my teachers as well. And I went to the story of what Dr. Carey had told me the previous day. And it was a cathartic experience for me because it allowed me to be seen for the first time from someone outside of doctors and my immediate family. And Dr. Crowley looked at me and she said, at the end of my story, the only limitations on your life will be the artificial ones that you place on yourself personally. And ever since that moment, I've lived my life through 2 models. The first model that I live my life by is that inclusion is the gateway to independence. So when you open up doors for families to have their loved ones included, whether they're elderly, whether they have a disability, you're opening up the floodgates to both independence and inclusion and belonging. And the second motto that I live my life by is that everyone's portrait of success is different. We all paint different portraits of success because your definition of success is different than mine. But that's a good thing because diversity of perspective is how we all get through life.